Lesson 31, the trials of Jesus, also called the Passion. Passion of Jesus. All right, the author reads, Jesus was not surprised by his arrest. As the Good Shepherd, he was in complete control of his destiny. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. That's found in John 10:17. He was a voluntary sacrifice, not a victim. When it was time to complete his mission, Jesus began his final journey to Jerusalem. That's found in Luke 9:51. After observing the traditional Passover meal with the 12, Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. Judas knew the place and had previously made a deal with the chief priests to betray Jesus. That's found in Matthew 26:14 through 16. He identified Jesus with a kiss, a traditional sign of respect for a rabbi. That's found in Matthew 26:47 through 49. Jesus was arrested by a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards. That's John 18:1 through 12. The chronology of Jesus' trial is complicated because each of the four Gospels record different aspects of this trial, of the trial. It was night when Jesus was arrested, and he was taken to Annas, the former high priest and father-in-law of Caiaphas, the official high priest. That's John 18:13 through 24. After questioning him, Annas sent Jesus to Caiaphas, who had assembled members of the Sanhedrin at his home. Though they didn't have evidence to convict Jesus, they spit in his face and beat him with their fists. That's Matthew 26:57 through 68. At dawn, the Sanhedrin assembled for a formal trial and sentencing. That's Mark 15:1. After condemning Jesus, the Sanhedrin turned him over to Pilate, the Roman governor, because they apparently did not have the authority for capital punishment. That's John 18:31. However, they also wanted Jesus executed publicly. Plus, they didn't want the people to blame them for his death. Note, Acts 7 records the stoning of Stephen, so the Jews could on occasion execute Jews for religious crimes. On questioning Jesus, Pilate realized he was not guilty of breaking Roman law. That's found in Matthew 27:11 through 23. He wanted to release him, but the Jews vehemently protested. Hoping to avoid the controversy, Pilate sent Jesus to Herod Antipas, the governor of Galilee, but Jesus refused to answer his questions. Herod sent Jesus back to Pilate, as found in Luke 23, verse 6 through 12. Again, after questioning Jesus, Pilate was convinced he was innocent. But again, the Jews demanded his execution. Pilate succumbed to the pressure and sentenced Jesus to die by crucifixion. Luke 23:13 through 25. All right, the first question is based on John 18, verse 19 through 24. So I'm going to read that scripture first. John 18, verse 19 through 24.
Inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about his followers and what he had been teaching them. Jesus replied, "Everyone knows what I teach. I have preached regularly in the synagogues and the temple where the people gather. I have not spoken in secret. So why are you asking me this question? As those who heard me. He said, they know what I said. Then, then one of the temple guards standing nearby slapped Jesus across his face. Is that the way to answer the high priest? As he demanded. So Jesus replied, if I said anything wrong, you must prove it. But if I'm speaking the truth, why are you beating me? Then Annas bound Jesus and sent him to Caiaphas, the high priest.
Okay. The author reads, according to Jewish law, the high priest was not permitted to question the defendant about his guilt. Yet Annas attempted to question Jesus and the guards legally abused him. At this first hearing, there seems to have been a callous disregard for justice. Part A asks, what do you think motivated Annas to break Jewish law? Again, said Jewish law says that you're not supposed to question someone's guilt as the judge. Why do you think Annas broke that law in asking Jesus what he did and why he did it?
Well, Annas, he was the former high priest, and they had appointed someone else to be high priest. But when they got that job, it was supposed to be for life. And Annas know he carried a lot of weight there, and he know that the people would agree with whatever he said more so than they would anyone else.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought about that. Yeah, he had seniority. Anyone else? Just your opinion. Why do you think Annas broke the tradition and tried to ask Jesus about why he was doing what he was doing? Question his guilt.
Also, he felt like he had still had the authority. The person that he was taking their place, he felt like it was okay for me to still ask questions because of my previous position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that, well, my son-in-law is the actual high priest, so you may want to go ahead and tell me something before he crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is common. I've seen people who abuse their authority when there is someone who questions the authority, or questions the order of things. They try to pull off to the side. It's like, okay, tell me what's going on now. Tell me for real what's going on. And Jesus, not respecting power or authority, do he had all of it, said, hey, I said what I said, and you heard what I said. That's I was telling someone, when you know your purpose and live the purpose, it gives you a conviction. Once you have conviction, you don't have fear. There's no room for fear. No room for coercion, no room for favoritism, because you have purpose and you're doing it. And once you have conviction, you can't stand like Jesus and say, well, hey, I said what I said. I ain't got to say it again. Unless you want to be converted, like Nicodemus, all right, we can talk about it. If not, if you just want to exercise what authority you think you have, go right ahead, but I'm not going to participate. Oh, yeah, I think everyone, I agree with everyone's opinion that he was trying to be the whole good cop, bad cop thing. He was trying to be the good cop, say, okay, now this is off the record now. Tell me what's up for real now, because you're a good little Jewish boy, and people like you. You're popular, so go ahead and tell me for real what's going on. So at that point, you have to have conviction. Well, this is a personal question. Have you ever been treated unfairly? How do you feel and what to do about it?
I think most of us that's ever worked in public have had times when you felt like you was mistreated. I was in a position and someone else's friend, they were good friends and they wanted that position. So they would gather stuff and carry it to somebody else, to another supervisor, to clarify that I was doing what I was supposed to do. And when they found out that they couldn't do that, they were very upset with me. But the person that was doing all this ended up getting sent from the position she was in that was over me to another position that was very lower than what was given to her in the beginning. I feel like when things like that happen, you have to humble yourself in a certain way that you know that the Lord gonna take care of you, because He tells us all the time, "I will never leave you, forsaking you." So that goes for all of us. I think everybody at one time or another has been in a position where they felt like they've been mistreated. I've had a couple of positions like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Anyone else? What do you do or what have you done when you've been treated unfairly, legally or otherwise?
After I got through venting,
Yeah.
I gave in to the right way and just so that wasn't what the Lord intended for me. Because yeah, it's been several instances where I've been, overlooked for certain positions and different things, but it always worked out better. So after, like I said, once again, after I got through venting,
Yeah.
I realized that my plan wasn't the Lord's plan was my plan. So
Yeah. Absolutely true.
followed my pride.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always the hard thing is
Yeah.
swallowing their pride because Jesus didn't get a chance to tell his side of the story.
Mm-mm.
Matter of fact, he refused to tell his side of the story
Yeah.
until he determined it was time for him to be executed. But he refused to have a side. He just said, I said what I said, and you know what I did. And yeah, like Miss Harris said, and you said also, everyone's been treated unfairly before. The hard thing is at that moment stopping yourself and realizing, wait a minute, the Lord knows what I've done, the Lord knows what I am. I'll let the Lord defend me. I refuse to defend me. That is hard for us because we work hard for our position, right? We work hard to be honorable. We work hard to be trustworthy, and to have it questioned, oh, that's an affront to our pride.
Mm.
And the hard thing at that moment is to stop yourself and say, wait a minute, the Lord has placed me here, and this challenge has come by the Lord's permission. I will let Him defend me. I will not. I've had people at work accuse me of doing things, heinously accuse me of doing things. And at that moment, those words came to me. Lord said, hold on. If I am your Father and your Lord and your Savior,
Mm-hmm.
let me take over.
Yeah.
So my motto at that point, I told people, it's like, if what I've done was so wrong, then that means that no good will come of me after this because I was wrong. But
Mm.
if I was honorable, then nothing good would happen to my accusers. And I left it at that. Turns out a year later, all people accused me, I got fired and lost the funding and keep losing funding. It's like, okay, Lord. So we have to realize who is our defender? Who is really our defender? Must you always have a defense attorney on your side, or must you become an attorney all the time for every offense against you? If you have to have an attorney every time, you're gonna spend your life on attorneys. Excuse me.
Bless you.
But what we have to realize, we have to, and well, it's funny we all say this. All church folks say this. Stand still, Lord fight the battles. We say it all the time, right?
Mhm.
Do we do it?
Not all the time.
After we get through
Do
venting.
look at the video.
And
That's
that's
a
the
bit.
problem. That's the
Go ahead.
problem with us. That is a problem with us when we don't know how to conduct ourselves in awkward position. Like somebody doing something to you, you feel like you ought to do something to them or fight back. But most of the time, if you keep your mouth closed and just be humble, the Lord will take that out of your way. I'm speaking for personal experience about the situation where I was on this job, because that lady ended up having to leave the corporate office and go to a store to work as a sales person because they found out what she was trying to do. She was trying to get rid of me so her friend could have my position. I didn't fight back. I just went on doing what I was doing. But if you just, sometimes you just have to know how to be still. That doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time, if you conduct yourself in a godly manner, God will fight your battles for you.
Yeah, it's just a matter like that. We have to truly believe that statement. Stand still, I will fight your battle. And it's funny now, people can stand still in earthquakes and hurricanes. I trust the Lord. But let someone question your integrity. I'm going to fight. Hold on, it's the same battle. This one's above your neck. And it's inside of you. How do you fight that battle? Same way. If I believe the Lord is my shepherd for real, why not let him fight? He got a big stick already. So why am I trying to fight him a sheep? So yeah, that's the thing. It's like, do we really, really believe what we say?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to really, really trust that when we see an offense, when the offense is done to us, do we really believe the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not need another defense attorney. I shall not need to put on armor. Get ready to fight. And the armor he gives us ain't got nothing to do with being an attorney. The armor he gives us is to protect your mind from thinking you got to fight. And keep your hands busy in worship, not looking for a gun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, Joy, I thought about the question a lot because that caught me off guard. All right, next question is found from Mark 14, verse 53 through 65. So someone will please read that for us. Mark 14, verse 53 through 65.
Jesus before the council. They took Jesus to the high priest's home, where the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and went right into the high priest's courtyard. There he sat with the guards, warming himself by the fire. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death, but they couldn't find any. Many false witnesses spoke against him, but they contradicted each other. Finally, some men stood up and gave this false testimony. We heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another made without human hands. But even then, they didn't get their story straight. Then the high priest stood up before the others and asked Jesus, well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus was silent and made no reply. Then the high priest asked him, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror and said, why do you need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict? Guilty, they all cried. He deserves to die. Then some of them began to spit at him, and they blindfolded him and beat him with their fists. Prophesy to us, they jeered, and the guards slapped him as they took him away.
All right, now the question asked when also a few members of the Sanhedrin met at the house of Caiaphas during the night, though it was illegal for the Sanhedrin to meet officially at night. The author asked, why did the high priest charge Jesus with blasphemy? The other question I had with that, why do you think they met at night? Why meet at night?
So they could find less resistance.
Yeah, I think so.
And they didn't want everyone to know what was going on. They had chosen chosen people that they wanted to just to take part in that. Sometimes we're doing something and we know it's not right. We don't include everybody. We just get a chosen few.
But most times, if you're doing something and you got to hide, you know you're doing
Yeah.
wrong.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
got to hide and don't nobody know what you're doing. You know that's wrong.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anytime we got legal action at 2 a.m, I
Yeah.
don't see it being upright.
Yeah. Call a kangaroo court.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when they do their dirt at night.
They did
Yeah.
dirty at night, and then want to have innocent hands. Well, this
Mhm.
what happened in trial. What trial? Where was the trial? Sure, yeah, it's legal trial. And the reason why Mosaic law was made that way, so no meeting at night, was for this reason. You want to have ample chance for all witnesses to have a say so with a clear mind. Most trials started at 9 a.m. at first light. They had theirs at 2 a.m., 1 or 2 a.m., some in the middle of the night. Again, because they don't want no competition, because they've already decided what they want to happen. Now, exactly why did the high priest charge Jesus with blasphemy? What was the actual blasphemous thing Jesus did?
He said he was the son of God. He was the Messiah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And he also talked about how he was going to tear the temple down and build up in 3 days. He had so many questions about who Jesus really was. They had seen the healing and all the baptizing and all of that, but they did not want to accept Jesus Christ as their savior.
Yeah. Now, one thing that Jesus did was actual blaspheme.
Saying he was the son of God.
Saying it was the Son of God. That's a blasphemous thing. Now Isaiah and all the prophets gave the indications of what the Son of God and the Messiah would do. Jesus checked all the boxes. The Sanhedrin knew this, checked all of them. They knew he was doing things that no regular prophet could do. So why do you think they chose blaspheme as the crime? Why not something else? You see, they tried several crimes. They tried vandalism. They tried attacks against our religion, tear the temple down. They tried to destroy. He was a whoremonger. Tried to say he was a homosexual. Tried to say he was a wino. They tried several things, but
He
none was picked
associated
because,
with. He also
uh,
said he associated with sinners.
yeah. So it says like, yeah, that's true story. Yeah, he did, but they were all healed,
Mhm.
and they all became no sinners after that. So they tried all the stuff. Why do you think this fell on blaspheming? This goes directly towards church folk. Why do you think they settled on blaspheming as the crime to get you on?
Blasphemy, that's because that was a death sentence, basically.
Yeah, it was instant death sentence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to answer it for you. I thought it was a lot. Why blaspheming is the charge? Blaspheming was always in the eye of the judge. The judge determined what was blasphemous or not. That's why I think they chose that, because it was something that didn't need any witnesses, and no one could question the judge, in this case the high priest, because he's the high priest. He's the one selected to carry the law. So if the high priest said, "Oh, that's blasphemous, we can kill him now,"
Mm-hmm.
that was why. That's why I think it was real subtle. But it's the first time I saw this. The reason why they chose, or why that one stuck, is because blaspheming required no witnesses. It was just the opinion of the judge if this was an offense or not. The same thing is true of church folk. When we say someone been converted, or you got the what they call thing, you got the I forgot Terry. You got Terry someone on the bench, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, because you ain't been converted yet.
Hmm.
Who is the judge of whether or not you've been converted or not? Why does Sister Smith have that much power in the church to determine if your conversion is real or not?
Hmm.
That's the same thing as a blasphemous charge. It depends on the judge. Really, how the judge feels at that moment. That's why Paul says correctly, every man should seek out your salvation. You should know what Jesus has done for you, and you should be fully convinced that this gospel saved my life. I love Jesus for life. I will never go back. I trust him completely. The end. Because people, if you depend on someone to tell you that you're different or I'm converted because Sister Smith told me, then I wouldn't take that to heaven. You may get turned away at the gate. We cannot let or even curse someone by telling them you ain't ready yet. The Lord ain't touched you. You gotta tarry a little bit longer in church. You gotta go to church some more. Or better yet, you gotta go to seminary to be sure you've been changed. Like
Hmm.
you've been changed. Go ahead, Brother Harris. I'm sorry.
I didn't
What?
say nothing, but, wait,
He saying something now.
well, if you notice, they brought up everything that Jesus has said or done that was to the human mind was really impossible for him to do or to be. Like he's the son of God, like he destroyed the temple and he built it up in 3 days. But see, they left out the main part. He didn't say, I will destroy the temple. He said, destroy this temple. They
Yeah,
left
he
out,
challenged.
he didn't say all that, I will destroy. He didn't say, if I will destroy the temple. He didn't say that. He was telling them, if you destroy this temple, he was talking about his body,
His body.
to build it back up in three
Yeah.
days. That's what he was,
Mhm.
that's what he meant. But by
That's what.
they,
That's
by they little
yeah.
small human mind, by our little small human minds, we don't get it.
Absolutely. We don't actually because we don't want to get it. Because it would make us have to think about people a lot more deeper than the shallow summaries we give them, the prejudice of thoughts we have. If we really contemplate what people say, what they do, and look at the sincerity of their actions, we wouldn't be able to stand the judgment because they'll point the finger back at us too much. So what we do what the Sanhedrin did. Oh yeah, he a heathen anyway. Yeah, look at him. He doing the same old stuff. I know he wrong. I feel he wrong. I heard him say this. Of course, he didn't hear him say it at all. We paraphrase. Or we say things like, well, he probably meant to do it anyway. Like, no, he didn't say that. So he didn't mean that. So yeah, it is a danger for us to become like the Sanhedrin, seeing what we want to see, hearing what we want to hear, and accusing people for what they are, ignoring what they aren't. As long as it fits in our story and our narrative, we're happy. So we have to be wary of that. All right, next question is based on Luke 23, verse 1 through 5.
And the whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered him and said, Thou sayest it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were moved more fierce, saying, He stirred up the people, teaching throughout all Jews, beginning from Galilee to this place.
Mm-hmm. All right. The question asked, I like the question. First question: what was the nature of the charges? They were religious when the religious leaders brought Jesus to Pilate, and why? Why do you think so? What charges did they bring against Jesus to Pilate, and why do you think they did that? I was
Charges was
thinking,
that
but go ahead, there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I just said the charge was that he had broken the Jewish laws. And they took him to Pilate because they knew Pilate could sentence him to death. Could really, complete the task.
Yeah, but remember, Pilate didn't care about Jewish law.
No, that's
He,
true.
he didn't care about it. So the laws they accused him of specifically was insurrection. He's disturbing the normal way of life. Yeah, I know, Eric. I know.
I got
But they accused him of being a rebel rouser. He's messing up the status quo. He's trying to kick up a fuss in our pretty balanced arrangement we got between the Romans and the Jews. He's trying to disrupt that.
Also,
What?
Pilate was beginning to feel insecure of his position.
Mm-hmm.
The things that Jesus was doing was not anything wrong with what he was doing, but he felt like he was losing his authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Pilate wanted to keep the peace and show Caesar that he was the good mayor, pretty much. So Pilate was pretty much the mayor of this area. The Jerusalem is just one small town in a humongous Roman Empire that stretched from all the way to England, all the way to India. It was a humongous empire. And this little one Jewish town kicking up this much fuss. So Pilate is trying to keep everyone happy and being sure he's popular because he wanted the people to support him and give a good report of him to Caesar so he can get a promotion to regional governor, not just a mayor, pretty much. So yeah, you're right. Pilate was trying to be sure he's popular. And Pilate had heard the stories about Jesus. Pilate questioned Jesus and saw that, oh, this man's a thinker. It's deeper than I thought. So Pilate said, okay, I don't see nothing wrong with it. That don't mean Pilate had an epiphany of holiness. No, it just means that he's trying to be popular and he ain't want to mess with Jesus because people like Jesus. So he
Well,
also go ahead, Brother Harris.
they had already brought religious charges against Jesus, and Pilate said he didn't find nothing wrong with what he had done. So they turned around and brought civil charges. He
Yeah.
trying to keep the people from paying the taxes. So
Yeah, you see, yeah,
so this is they gonna get him in one way or the other one. So they found another way to bring charges that Pilate would agree with. It's
Yeah.
easy. Yeah, because you know the Roman government, you know, they were robbing the people of with taxes. They were big on taxes and really robbing the people.
Oh yeah.
So anyone
Yeah.
that anyone interfered with their money, they was ready to do whatever they had to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not familiar with a Christian who works in a aggressive business environment. If people see you taking off time to pray or see that you're being a little too forgiving on time for some of the accounts receivable, you're paying their bills and you actually being patient with them, they try to bring you up on company charges. Well, look, he messed with the money flow. But really, they just don't like you because of what you believe. And we have to do like Jesus did. Like, when they ask you, well, are you a Christian? Is that what you do? Like, yes, I do. That's what I do, and I'm going to keep doing it. Now, all the things they accused Jesus of doing, not paying taxes, of course he paid taxes. But people are going to lie and stretch the truth however they want to, or actually just cover up the truth and just promote the lie. They're going to do that. They still do that. They're doing it right now. The question is, what are you going to do when you hear it? Are you going to try to refute every single charge? Did Jesus refute every charge?
He didn't.
No, he actually agreed with them, though. The charge that Pilate gave him was, "Are you the king of the Jews?" What did Jesus say?
Thou says it.
You said
Yeah, what did you say? What did you say about sir?
Uh-huh.
Why do you think Jesus said that response? Why not keep silent? He been silent with the other things. Why not keep silent on that one? Here's a good little sneaky question. Why do you think Jesus was silent when Pilate asked, "Are you king of the Jews?" I can tell you what I think. I thought about that, but it was like Jesus wanted to go ahead. He knew it was his time. He knew that he had started the plan of salvation right now because of Passover. So he knew, hey, I got to do it now to make Passover real. So let me go ahead and really push the Jews over the edge. Yes, I'm king of the Jews. When they heard that, and when Pilate made a point to put a sign that says, "Here is the king of the Jews," on the cross, he made it so that the Jews would have to execute him with all vigor. Because what you want to do, those who are opposing your ministry, those who are opposing your belief, go ahead and set the table for them. So they can go as far as their belief says they have to go. Just like what did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego do when Nebuchadnezzar asked them why they didn't bow down to his golden statue? They said, "Oh, King, live forever. We ain't gonna bow down the statue, and yeah, you can throw us in the fire, but our God can rescue us. And even if He don't rescue us, He's able. And even if He don't do any of that, we still ain't gonna do it." That's a good way to make your enemies furious, just so God can be glorified. And when you know your purpose is to glorify the Father, you shouldn't get in the way of that path. Yes, it can cause you some discomfort. Jesus had to die a pretty raunchy death. He knew this, but he also knew that glory was just on the side of that. Just a few hours down the road was glory. Those that did your Romans, Harris, it was uncomfortable for the few days, right?
Yes.
Probably for a few weeks. It was uncomfortable. You come into a room and people get quiet. Yeah,
I
it's
was
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable until she left.
Until she left. I know. Uncomfortable. But something in you, once you get to that point of the trial, especially when you know it's a spiritual test. Once you make that stand, all you see is the finish line. It's like, yeah, I'll just get through it. I'll get through it. Whatever happens, I'll get through it. If I gotta leave, that's fine, but I'm gonna get through it. Everyone needs to have that time in your life where you make that stance and say, I ain't backing down. I'm not moving. This is what the Lord has planted me, and I will wait for the Lord to defend me. I will do what I must, but I will not get back at you. I will not fight. I'll let the Lord have this battle, and I'll act accordingly.
Yeah, because if you try to defend yourself, you will fall down in the you see the trap. You see, they try to trap him. He let them lie. He let them do the affirmative. He say, "Oh, you say it. How about this? You say it. Do you think about this?" They say it. He didn't do that, and nothing that can, show that he was defending himself about what people. He knew as you say, he knew where he is going. He knew the glory was just in the backyard. But and he do the best that he can to know, to avoid to mix up with what those people were saying. Let them lie. Let them do the affirmative. It's like us today. Okay, we don't need to defend ourselves, because if we try to defend ourselves, then we will be in this trap of lying or try to, say things that in the name of the Lord that the Lord didn't say to us.
Yes, absolutely. That's the danger is trying to be an attorney instead of a witness. When you are accused of things, when you feel the spiritual heat, when you feel the attack, the only thing you arm yourself with, like the Bible says, is the word. You should prepare your heart with the salvation that saves you. Remember what saved you. It wasn't your strength. It wasn't your smartness. It wasn't your family. It was the fact that you cried out for help because you had no plan B. And everything is messed up.
Mhm.
That's how you arm yourself. You don't arm yourself with legal stances and evidence and video proof and paperwork and a paper trail. No. Give the Lord something to do. Go ahead and put them to the test. He said, I got time. He wants you to know for sure what you signed up for. He wants there to be no doubt. So when it's time to defend yourself, he says, let me have this one. Just have a seat. I got you. The question is, can we agree to let the Lord do that? Just like Jesus did. Can we indeed take a back seat? Or must we always be willing to object and file motions like we some bootleg Perry Mason?
Mhm.
So we have to be able to let the Lord do our talking. Let him do our defense. Let him do that scripture we say all the time. Stand still, I'll fight the battle. Let him do that, not just during the storm, not just during calamity. Let him do it on things that you are strong enough in your mind to fight. Let him do that. And you'll see just how involved he can be in your life. The personal experience, it'll make you a lot more quiet
Mhm.
if you just let the Lord do some fighting for you. All right, I thank y'all for joining us for Bible study. I enjoyed it immensely. Let's bow